Hello again in this installment of Spiritual Wisdom. The idea of this channel is to share my knowledge with others, so this to be useful to beginners, because as a beginner there are a lot of good books out there. The internet can be sometimes useful, but not always. Even the books you've got to read, you've got to sort of cross-read them, and it can be a bit frustrating. That's how it's good to listen to other members of the community to know what's sort of fact and fiction, and to listen to book recommendations. There's a lot of good books out there. Books are the best source for a beginner. There's some good YouTubers to listen to, like Harmony Nice is really good, especially on Wicca, and witchcraft and pagan issues. Hearth is I really recommend Hearth for witchcraft. Hearth is really good if you're really interested in witchcraft and you just want to follow witchcraft. Hearth is really good for that. Harmony Nice, she does explain very little about maybe what witchcraft is, but her channel more focuses on Wicca because she is Wiccan and she follows the Wiccan religion. That's more where she's at. There's a Lunar Wisdom is also a very good YouTuber as well. There's a lot of the Green Witch, I believe, is also a good YouTuber. So there's lots of good YouTubers, and the idea of my YouTube channel is to again share knowledge about witchcraft, to educate and dispel the misconceptions surrounding witchcraft and magic. So I'm just going to go over some Wicca information. My first misconception to tell you would be one: we as Wiccans, as witches, we do not worship the devil. That is the Christian personification of again, the devil's more of a Christian figure. It's their personification of evil. Two, Wicca and witchcraft are not the same. That's very important to understand, because at the end of the day, witchcraft is a magical practice. And that it's hard to give a definite answer about what witchcraft is, because you could ask 13 different witches what witchcraft is and you get 13 different answers. But in a nutshell, witchcraft is a magical practice, and a witch is someone who practices witchcraft. So a witchcraft is, and when you remove the word witch, it's craft. So the witch becomes an artist, and they create their own craft based on their beliefs, their ideas, what's right and wrong, and with the spiritual energies they want to work with. And again, anyone can practice witchcraft regardless of their religion, their spirituality, and regardless of their religion, sexuality, gender, regardless of their gender. And also, even one could be an atheist and practice witchcraft. How one would go about being an atheist and practicing is also very personal. I would say witchcraft is one of those things which is not only just a magical practice and a craft, something you study and you practice, because practice, you study magical traditions and practices, and if you feel interested in certain magical practices and traditions, you include them into your practice and make it your own. As a beginner, it's best to not label yourself as anything and study different types of witchcraft and learn what witchcraft is as a whole before you label yourself. Like later on you could say, well, right now I feel like an eclectic witch, and then you may wish to continue being an eclectic witch. Or in the future you may say, I wish I am a green witch, I wish to stick to that. But in the beginning, best not to label yourself, because you might feel as a beginner, oh, I have to pick a label and I have to limit myself to that label, and I'm only limited to that label, but you're not. And that's the great thing about witchcraft. It's so personal, and it's very open, and it's each individual can practice magic and practice it the way they see fit. Just in order to be a good witch, you just have to treat the craft with a great level of respect and practice it, study and practice it as much, and when you feel the need. But you don't have to feel as if, oh, you've got to be doing something every day. So another misconception people have. So one, and again, so witchcraft is a magical practice as a whole, and it's up to the individual how they go about practicing their magical practice. It's a very personal thing. Being a Wiccan is also personal, but that touches on my second misconception. Again, the first misconception is we don't worship the devil, right? That's very important. Second is that witchcraft and Wicca are not the same. One can be a Wiccan and practice witchcraft, and one can be a witch and be Wiccan. But it's very important to understand not all Wiccans are witches, and not all witches are Wiccan. Because you can be a Wiccan and practice witchcraft, be a witch as well. And I'm a Wiccan witch, so I follow the Wiccan religion and practice witchcraft. And I see myself as a eclectic Wiccan witch. That's how I label myself and see myself. But there are many people who start out the way I am, and then they find out Wicca's not the right fit for them, so they decide to just stick with witchcraft, being an eclectic witch. It's all personal. But Wicca as a whole, as a religion with a set beliefs, it's a modern religion. What was popularised in the 50s by Gerald Garner. Now, you could say the father of Wicca is Gerald Garner. The mother is Doreen Aravanti. So she was a high priestess. He says that she had her own coven. She initiated him into that coven, and also he brought his own beliefs, because he was well travelled and he was fascinated by other magical cultures and indigenous tribes. So he brought his knowledge and his occult knowledge and beliefs, what he was known at that time, and then he brought them in. And the mother of Wicca, Doreen Aravanti, she brought her beliefs, and the two of them sort of passed notes, worked together, and sort of in the New Forest, you had the New Forest Coven. And back then Wicca was a very sort of coven-based tradition. It was secretive. You had to know someone, they had to bring you into the coven, and then you would have to be initiated into the coven. There's some Gardnerian Wicca, there's not many followers of Gardnerian Wicca now, but there's still some followers of it. And it's because it still has that level of secrecy to it. So it can be, even today, it can be hard to, there are covens available, but it can be hard to find a coven because covens are quite secretive. There's good reasons for that. But overall, and again, Wicca is about respecting nature, working with the elements. Also, we work with the wheel, we celebrate the wheel of the year to bring our body in tune with nature, and that as well. And paganism, two words that people might think are negative, and this is the third misconception. People might think a warlock is a good term, a good word, but actually a lot of members of the community would be offended if you called them that. They may correct you. Some would be offended because the word warlock means oath breaker, someone who's sworn an oath of secrecy or an oath and they broke it, and that, so it's not a positive term in the community. Pagan is a positive term, but some people might think the word pagan means oath breaker or something bad. But again, the word pagan is an umbrella term. It describes a variety of different faiths and religions which do not have any Christian, Judaic, or Islamic roots. And that's mainly what it is. And the main misconceptions is what I'm trying to touch on is 1, we don't worship the devil. 2, Wicca and witchcraft are not the same. 3, again, a warlock's not necessarily a good term. It may become transformed because some people use the word witch was once a bad term, so the word warlock maybe in the future may become a good term. But paganism is also a positive term. It doesn't mean oath breaker or something bad. It's a good thing. Number 5, the reason why I said anyone can practice witchcraft is because Hollywood gives us this idea that women are witches and men are always something else, whereas men can also be witches. So that would be myth number 5. Witches who do darker workings. This is the 6th misconception. Witches who don't do dark workings are black witches and doing black magic. The term white witch and and white witch, a lot of us in the community don't like these terms because for us magic doesn't have a colour. You could visualise magic having a colour in your mind, but at the end of the day, magic is just energy attached to an intention. So rather the spell is good or bad, or the magic is good or bad, really depends on that individual's intention. And again, some witches, people go the word white witch, someone who would only use their magic for good, to bring good things into their own life and other people's lives. We wouldn't really call that a white witch. Some people in the community, they do know what they're talking about, and they might go label themselves a white witch. I don't like that term. I don't like being labelled anything like that myself. There may be some members who are good with that, but a lot of us in the community would rather say that practitioner follows the right hand path, as they only choose to use their magic for good and that. Other practitioners may follow the left hand path, only using their magic maybe to cause harm in certain people, and they only use it for selfish reasons. But the wise path, I would say, in witchcraft and magic is to follow the middle path. For the most part, use your magic for good to help others, to bring good things into your life, and only do darker workings if you feel there's a need. And most witches in the past would have followed the middle path. They'd have used the magic for good, for healing, but they would have cursed or hexed if they felt a need for it. And the same as today, many witches follow that middle path. They will only curse or hex if they really feel the need for it. And again, how witches do, some witches would never do a curse or hex no matter what they're going through. Others would if they really felt the need for it. So it's in terms like, I just want to clarify, a lot of his magic itself doesn't have a colour. There's no such thing as white magic or black magic. It all comes down to your intention. And also, I would recommend don't use terms like white witch, black witch, or even if you're an outsider, don't use it with other practitioners. They might correct you, or they might be very offended if terms like that come up. But most practitioners don't get easily offended. They would rather, if you say anything that's a misconception, me and other members would rather just correct you rather than make you feel bad for saying it, because again, there's very little known. So I would say this is sort of 6 misconceptions about witchcraft. There are many more. There are many more misconceptions. But just to recap, because I've rambled quite a bit, just to recap, 1, the first misconception is we do not worship the devil. two, Wicca and witchcraft are not the same. The word oathbreaker is not the word warlock means oathbreaker. It's not really. Some men may go with this term, like male witch, but a lot of us in the community a lot of men will just call themselves witches. They will not go with the word warlock because that means oathbreaker and it's quite uncomfortable. Also, the word pagan is a positive thing. It's an umbrella term. It doesn't mean oathbreaker or anything bad. And again, I spoke about things like the history and things of Wicca. And also, as I said, with the middle path is what most practitioners follow as well. And magic doesn't really have a colour to it. It's all about the intention. So I hope this video has been informative. It's give good information. So if you like this video, please hit it a like, subscribe so I can create more videos like this. And I know what you like this content. And please leave a comment down below to say if I've explained a lot through this video, or if you feel there's a lot more what I need to go into depth with. So until next time, thank you for watching. May meet, may part, and may meet again. Blessed be.